I stared at the email notification glowing on my phone screen, a slight smile playing at my lips. Another desperate message from my father's company, Anderson Global Technologies, their third this week. The subject line was always different, but the underlying message remained the same. They needed my help. My name is Emma Anderson, and 10 years ago, my parents made what they thought was a simple choice. They chose my twin brother, Ethan, to inherit the family business. After all, he was the natural leader, the one with the real business sense. I was just the quiet twin who spent too much time analyzing market trends and studying emerging technologies. Ms. Anderson. My assistant's voice pulled me from my thoughts. The quarterly earnings report is ready for your review, and Google's acquisition team sent over the updated proposal. I nodded, turning away from the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office. The Seattle skyline sparkled beneath the morning sun, a far cry from the small garage where I'd started my company 5 years ago. Thanks, Alice. Just leave them on my desk. I picked up my father's email again, reading it more carefully this time. Emma, we need to discuss a potential strategic partnership. Anderson Global's board believes a merger between our companies could create significant synergies. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Dad, strategic partnership. I almost laughed. That's what they were calling it now. 6 months ago, it had been market collaboration. Before that, joint venture opportunities. They were running out of euphemisms for what they really wanted, a bailout. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. Emma, darling, her voice carried that familiar mix of authority and manipulation. Did you get your father's email? We should really discuss this as a family. I closed my eyes, memories flooding back. The family dinner 10 years ago when they'd announced their decision. The way they framed it as if they were doing me a favor. Ethan has the natural leadership qualities the company needs, my father had declared, swirling his expensive scotch. He understands people, knows how to command a room. You're too analytical, Emma. Too focused on the technical details. That's not what a CEO needs to be. My mother had reached across the table, patting my hand with well-practiced sympathy. Besides, sweetheart, you've always been more comfortable behind the scenes. This way, you can support your brother without all the pressure of running the company. I remembered Ethan's smug smile, the way he'd straightened his shoulders, already practicing his executive posture. Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure there's always a place for you in the company. That night, I'd gone home to my apartment and cried, not from sadness, but from pure, burning frustration. They'd never seen me, never really understood what I was capable of. To them, I was just the quiet twin, the careful one, the one who didn't fit their image of a business leader. Emma, my mother's voice brought me back to the present. Are you there? Yes, Mom. I got the email. I kept my voice neutral, professional, but any potential partnership would need to go through proper channels. Have your team contact our corporate development office. Oh, Emma, she sighed. Why do you always have to make things so formal? We're family. Family. The word hit differently now. Yes, we are. And 10 years ago, our family made a very clear decision about leadership. I'm just honoring that decision. You're still holding on to that. Sweetheart, we did what we thought was best. And look at you now. You've done so well for yourself with your little tech company. My little tech company that was now worth $4.2 billion. Anderson Global's market cap had dropped to less than half that under Ethan's leadership. Mom, I need to go. I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. It wasn't true, but she didn't need to know that. Just think about it, please. Your brother's having a hard time. The market conditions, the new competitors. It's been challenging. I ended the call, turning back to the window. Challenging didn't begin to describe Ethan's situation. Under his leadership, Anderson Global had missed every major tech trend of the last decade. While they were still pushing outdated enterprise software, I built Nova Technologies into a leader in artificial intelligence and machine learning. The irony wasn't lost on me. The technical details they dismissed as a weakness had become my greatest strength. While Ethan was perfecting his executive image, I was studying the technologies that would reshape the industry. My intercom buzzed. Ms. Anderson, the team from Tesla is here for the partnership discussion. I straightened my blazer, pushing thoughts of family drama aside. Send them in. As I walked to the conference room, I passed the wall of achievements that lined our main hallway. Industry awards, patent certificates, magazine covers featuring my face. The Queen of AI. Tech's Rising Star. 30 under 30. Each one a quiet rebuttal to those who'd underestimated me. But the most satisfying article was the most recent one. Anderson Global struggles as Nova Technologies soars. The subtitle was particularly sweet. Twin CEOs, Divergent Paths. The Tesla executives rose as I entered the room, eager to discuss implementing Nova's AI systems in their next generation of vehicles. This was what real business leadership looked like, not commanding a room with charisma, but creating something so valuable that the room came to you. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Ethan. Come on, Em. Help me out here, for old time's sake. I put the phone away without responding. Old time's sake. The old times were exactly why I'd built Nova Technologies. Every dismissal, every underestimation, every patronizing pat on the head have fueled my determination. They'd chosen their CEO 10 years ago. Now it was time for them to live with that choice. But as I began my presentation to the Tesla team, I couldn't help but smile slightly, because the best part? This was just the beginning. Anderson Global's desperation for a merger was about to teach my family a very expensive lesson about underestimating the quiet twin. The weekly executive meeting at Nova Technologies had just wrapped up when Alice appeared at my door again. Your brother's here. I looked up from my laptop surprised. Ethan had never visited my office before. His pride wouldn't allow it. He doesn't have an appointment. He says it's urgent, family business. Alice's tone carried a hint of disapproval. She'd been with me since the early days, working late nights in that garage as we built Nova from scratch. She knew our family history. I sighed, closing my laptop. Send him in. Ethan strode into my office like he owned it, the same way he walked everywhere. But something was different. His designer suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders, the slight shadows under his eyes. Running Anderson Global into the ground was finally taking its toll. Nice view, he said, gesturing to the Seattle skyline. Much better than that garage you started in. Remember when Dad said you were wasting your time? I remember everything, Ethan. I kept my voice neutral. What do you want? He turned to face me, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the brother I'd grown up with, before the competition, before the bitterness. We need to talk about the merger. There is no merger discussion. I already told Mom. Our stock dropped another 15% yesterday, he cut in. The board is talking about replacing me. I leaned back in my chair. And this concerns Nova Technologies how? Come on, Em. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair. You know exactly how your AI systems could transform our business. Together, we could. Together. I couldn't help but laugh. Now you want to work together. Where was this collaborative spirit 10 years ago? His face hardened. That's not fair. I didn't ask for them to choose me. No, but you didn't exactly protest, did you? I stood up, walking to the window. You were so sure you were the right choice. The natural leader. How's that working out? Is that what this is about? Revenge? He stepped closer. You built all this just to prove a point. I turned to face him. I built this because I saw where the industry was going while you were busy playing CEO. I built this because every time you and Dad dismissed my technical details as irrelevant, I knew you were wrong. Fine, you were right. His composure cracked. Is that what you want to hear? You're the better CEO. You won. But there are 5,000 people who depend on Anderson Global for their livelihood. Are you going to punish them just to spite me? That hit home. He knew it would. He was my twin after all. We'd grown up learning each other's weak spots. Those people deserve better leadership, I said quietly, and you know it. Ethan slumped into one of my visitor chairs. The board's giving me 1 month to turn things around. After that, he looked up at me. Help me, Em. Please. Not for me, but for Dad's legacy. I walked back to my desk, pressing the intercom. Alice, please bring in the Horizon folder. Ethan straightened. What's that? 6 months ago, I had our strategy team prepare a complete analysis of what acquiring Anderson Global would look like. I took the folder from Alice. Not a merger. An acquisition. His face paled. You've been planning this? I've been preparing for it. There's a difference. I slid the folder across the desk. Page 12 outlines the leadership transition plan. Page 15 details the technology integration roadmap. He opened the folder with shaking hands. You want to fire me? I want to fix what you broke. I sat down again. The board gets what they want, new leadership. The employees keep their jobs. The company survives, but not as equals, Ethan. Nova acquires Anderson Global at current market value, and I become CEO of both companies. Dad will never agree to this. Dad's not the majority shareholder anymore. You've been diluting family ownership for years to keep the company afloat. I pointed to page 3. We've been quietly buying those shares through subsidiaries. Ethan stared at me, realization dawning. How long have you been planning this? Since the day they chose you. The words came out before I could stop them. He closed the folder slowly. I'll need time to review this with the board. You have 48 hours. I picked up my phone, signaling the end of the meeting. After that, we go hostile. And trust me, he don't want that. He stood up, straightening his tie, a nervous habit from childhood. You've changed, Em. No, I haven't. That's what none of you ever understood. I met his gaze steadily. I was always this person, you just couldn't see it. After he left, I sat in silence for a long moment. Then I picked up my phone and dialed a familiar number. Alice? Schedule a dinner reservation for tonight. 4 people. I paused. And contact our PR team. Tell them to be ready by tomorrow afternoon. It was time to have one last family dinner, but this time, I would be the one making the announcements. Sometimes the quiet twin speaks the loudest. What do you mean my college fund is gone? I stared at my parents across our dining room table, my acceptance letter to Harvard Business School lying between us like a broken promise. My mother avoided my eyes, fiddling with her expensive necklace, while my father cleared his throat. Now, Alexandra, he began in his business executive tone, your sister Olivia is getting married in 3 months. The Winters are one of the most influential families in the city. This wedding needs to be exceptional. I felt my world crumbling. At 18, I'd worked myself to exhaustion to get into Harvard. Perfect grades, extracurriculars, glowing recommendations. The acceptance letter had arrived yesterday. Today, I learned my future had been traded for flower arrangements and a designer wedding dress. But that was my money, I whispered. You promised. You've been saving it since I was born. Oh, darling, my mother finally looked at me, her smile condescending. You're so smart. You'll figure something out. Olivia needs this wedding. The Winters expect a certain standard. As if summoned by her name, my sister Olivia breezed into the room, wedding magazines tucked under her arm. At 24, she'd never worked a day in her life, spending her time at country clubs and charity galas. Mom, I found the perfect venue. It's a castle in France, and they have an opening in June. She paused, noticing my tear-streaked face. What's wrong with her? Nothing, my father said smoothly. Alexandra's just processing some changes to her college plans. Olivia's face lit up. Oh, did you tell her? Daddy, the castle is only $300,000 per day. That's reasonable, right? $300,000 per day. My entire college fund had been around $400,000. Carefully saved, meticulously planned. Now it would pay for less than 2 days of my sister's fairy tale wedding. I got into Harvard, I said quietly. The school I've been dreaming about since I was 12. Olivia waved her hand dismissively. Harvard's so stuffy. You could go to community college. My friend's housekeeper's daughter goes to one. She says it's quaint. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I need some air. Outside, the spring air felt thick with broken dreams. I walked to the garden bench where I used to study late into the night, preparing for the future that had just been stolen from me. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Maya. Did you tell them about Harvard? Are they excited? I couldn't bring myself to respond. How could I explain that my education meant so little to my family that they'd sacrificed it for champagne fountains and ice sculptures? Later that night, I sat in my room, surrounded by scholarship applications and student loan forms. A soft knock at my door interrupted my desperate calculations. Go away, Olivia. She came in anyway, floating in on a cloud of expensive perfume. I brought you some wedding magazines. You can help me pick the flower arrangements since you're not going to be busy with school. I looked up slowly. Do you even care? That your wedding is costing you my future? Don't be so dramatic, she rolled her eyes. Daddy says the family business will always take care of us. You don't mean Harvard. But I did need it, not just for the education, but for what it represented. A chance to prove myself, to build something of my own. The next morning, I walked into my father's study. He was on the phone, probably discussing another extravagant wedding detail. "We need to talk," I said when he hung up. "Alexandra, I'm very busy." "The business," I interrupted. "You always say it will take care of us. Let me work there. Part-time now, full-time after graduation. I'll earn my tuition." He laughed, actually laughed. "Sweetheart, handling million-dollar accounts isn't like your little math club competitions. The business needs experienced people. I'm good with numbers. I could learn." "No," he cut me off firmly. "The business is not a practice ground for beginners. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting about Olivia's floral arrangements." That night, I couldn't sleep. The moonlight streamed through my window, illuminating my Harvard acceptance letter. Next to it lay an invitation to tour Sterling National Bank's internship program, an opportunity I'd won through a finance competition but had planned to decline in favor of Harvard. My hands shook as I picked up my phone and dialed the number on the invitation. "Hello, this is Alexandra Miller. I'm calling about the internship program. Yes, I'd love to schedule that tour." 3 days later, I stood in the lobby of Sterling National Bank, my one professional outfit pressed and perfect. The marble floors gleamed and the air hummed with purpose. This wasn't the future I'd planned, but maybe, just maybe, it could be something better. Mr. Sterling himself gave me the tour. He'd been impressed by my competition performance and seemed genuinely interested in my ideas about modernizing banking systems. "We typically require a college degree," he said as we finished the tour, "but your test scores are exceptional. We could offer you a modified program. Work during the day, online classes at night. After 2 years, if your performance meets our standards, we'd sponsor your business degree." It wasn't Harvard. It wasn't even close to what I'd dreamed of. But it was an opportunity, one I'd earned on my own merit. "When can I start?" That evening, I packed my belongings into my used Honda Civic, a car I bought with savings from tutoring. My parents were at a wedding venue tour with Olivia. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "Found a solution. Don't worry about my education anymore. I'll figure it out on my own, just like you said." Asterisk Alexandra. As I drove away from my childhood home, tears blurred my vision. But through those tears, I caught a glimpse of something I hadn't expected. Hope. My parents might have traded my future for Olivia's perfect wedding, but they had unknowingly set me on a path that would change everything. I didn't know it then, but in 10 years, they would desperately wish they'd chosen differently, because sometimes when you force someone to figure it out on their own, they figure out how to become more powerful than you ever imagined. 10 years can change everything. I sat in my corner office on the 47th floor of Sterling Tower, watching the morning sun glint off nearby skyscrapers. The nameplate on my desk read Alexandra Miller, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling National Bank. At 28, I was the youngest CEO in the bank's history. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Miller, your father's company, Miller Industries, has submitted an emergency loan application. Their representatives are here for the meeting." I smiled, straightening my Armani suit. "Send them in." The door opened and 3 men entered. My father wasn't among them. He was too proud to come begging for money himself. Instead, he'd sent his CFO, Thomas, and 2 board members. "Gentlemen," I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. "Please sit." They didn't recognize me. Why would they? The last time they'd seen me, I was a teenager serving coffee at board meetings during my failed attempt to prove myself worthy of the family business. "Ms. Miller," Thomas began, his voice strained, "we appreciate you meeting with us on such short notice. Our situation is urgent." I opened the loan application on my tablet. "Yes, I see that. Miller Industries is facing a liquidity crisis. Your major contracts are delayed, suppliers are demanding payment, and your credit lines with other banks are maxed out. You need a $100 million bailout within 72 hours or you'll face bankruptcy." Thomas shifted uncomfortably. "That's correct. But our projections show." "That's not why you're here," I interrupted smoothly. "You're here because every other bank has turned you down. Sterling National is your last hope." The men exchanged nervous glances. I continued reviewing the file, making them wait. "Tell me," I finally said, "is Olivia's castle still being maintained in France? The one from her $1 million wedding?" Their confusion was visible. I don't understand how that's relevant," Thomas stammered. Oh, it's very relevant. You see, I like to understand how companies spend their money before I lend them more. I pulled up another document. For instance, in the past 5 years, while your company was losing market share, the Miller family spent $23 million on personal expenses, including upkeep on a French castle that's used maybe 2 weeks a year. Recognition finally dawned in Thomas's eyes. Alexandra, Robert Miller's daughter. I smiled. The one who was too inexperienced for the family business? Yes. Life is full of irony, isn't it? The color drained from their faces. They knew in that moment exactly what this meant. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya, now my chief operating officer. Your parents just arrived in the lobby. Security asking if they should send them up. Excuse me, gentlemen, I said, standing. It seems we'll have some additional participants in this discussion. Minutes later, my parents burst into the office. They'd aged in 10 years, my father's hair now completely gray, my mother's carefully maintained appearance showing cracks of stress. Alexandra, my mother's voice shook. You own Sterling National? Not just own it, I corrected. I built it. Remember when you said I was smart and would figure things out? Well, I did. My father stepped forward, his business mask slipping. Princess, whatever happened in the past? Don't, I cut him off. Don't try to princess me now. Not after you traded my education for Olivia's wedding. Not after you said I wasn't good enough for the family business. We did what we thought was best, my mother pleaded. Olivia's wedding was important for our social standing. And now your social standing is about to collapse, I noted. Unless I bail you out. The room fell silent. 10 years of hurt, dismissal, and underestimation hung in the air between us. The loan application is denied, I said quietly. You can't do this, my father exploded. We're your family. I stood up, my voice deadly calm. Family? Let me tell you about family. Mr. Sterling became my family. He mentored me, believed in me, supported my education. When he died last year, he left me controlling interest in this bank because he trusted my judgment. I walked to the window, looking out at the city. Maya, my best friend from high school? She's my COO now. We put ourselves through business school together, working days, studying nights. That's family. But the company, Thomas interjected. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs. No, they won't, I turned back to face them. Because Sterling National isn't denying the loan. We're buying Miller Industries. My father's face went pale. What? Our offer is fair, 40 cents on the dollar, given your situation. We'll protect the employees, maintain operations, but the Miller family will no longer be in control. I slid a document across the desk. You have 1 hour to decide. That's how long before the market opens and your stock crashes on news of the loan denial. My mother started crying. How can you do this to us? The same way you did it to me, by telling myself it's just business. I pressed the intercom. Maya, please come in with the paperwork. Maya entered, carrying a folder. She'd been there that night 10 years ago. And let me sleep on her couch when I first left home. Now she stood beside me, a symbol of the real family I'd built. 1 hour, I repeated. They signed the papers with trembling hands. Miller Industries, the company my grandfather had built, the company that had been too good for me, was now mine. As they left my office, defeated and broken, my father turned back. I hope you're satisfied. I hope destroying your family was worth it. I didn't destroy our family, I replied. You did that 10 years ago. I just built something better from the ashes. Later that evening, I drove to the old house, my childhood home. It was dark, empty. A for sale sign stood in the yard. Olivia's perfect wedding had lasted 3 years before ending in a messy divorce. The French castle stood empty, a monument to misplaced priorities. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Sterling National acquires Miller Industries in surprise takeover. Below was a message from Mr. Sterling's widow. Henry would be so proud of you, dear. You were the daughter he always wanted. I smiled, starting my car. Tomorrow, I would begin rebuilding Miller Industries into something stronger, something built on merit rather than family connections. The employees would keep their jobs, the contracts would be saved, but the Miller family's reign was over. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying what others built. It's building something so much greater that they're forced to watch from the sidelines, remembering the moment they chose the wrong child to believe in. My Harvard acceptance letter still hangs on my office wall. next to my executive MBA from Stanford, earned at night while working my way up through Sterling National. It reminds me that sometimes, when one door closes, you don't just find another door. You build your own building. The next morning, a final text came from my mother. "We're sorry. We were wrong about you." My response was simple. "I know, but I'm not sorry, because you taught me the most valuable lesson. That sometimes having to figure it out on your own is the greatest gift anyone can give you, even if that wasn't what you intended." And that's how the daughter they wouldn't send to college ended up owning not just a bank, but their entire legacy. Sometimes, karma doesn't just strike, it transforms everything in its path. Still wasting time with paintings, Michael's voice dripped with disdain as he surveyed my studio apartment, his expensive Italian shoes looking out of place among my scattered art supplies. "Look at you, Sophie, 30 years old and living like a college student." I continued working on my canvas, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a response. The afternoon light filtered through my paint-splattered windows, casting a warm glow on the cityscape I was creating. "Dad's worried about you," he continued, picking up a brush with 2 fingers like it might contaminate him. "We all are. The Anderson name means something in this city. You can't keep playing around with watercolors forever." The Anderson name. Our father's real estate empire stretched across 3 states, with Michael as the crowned prince ready to take over. Meanwhile, I was the family embarrassment, the daughter who chose art over economics. "I'm not playing, Michael," I finally said, setting down my brush. "This is my career." He laughed, the sound echoing off my bare walls. "Career? You haven't sold a piece in months. Even that little gallery in Brooklyn dropped you." The reminder stung. Harrison Gallery had indeed terminated my contract last month, but not for the reasons my family assumed. I'd been the one to walk away when I discovered they were undervaluing local artists' work. "Why are you really here?" I asked, wiping my hands on my paint-stained apron. Michael's expression shifted to what he probably thought was brotherly concern. "Dad's offering you another chance. Executive position at Anderson Development. Your own office, company car, real salary. All you have to do is give up this hobby." I looked around my small studio. Canvases lined the walls, some finished, others in progress. My latest series explored urban development's impact on communities, something my family's company never considered when demolishing historic buildings for luxury condos. "Tell Dad thanks, but no thanks. I'm good here." "Good?" Michael gestured around incredulously. "You call this good? Sophie, you're living on instant noodles and hope." Meanwhile, I just closed a $50 million deal. "Congratulations," I said flatly. "I'm sure the country club is very impressed." His face hardened. "You know what? Fine. Keep pretending you're some tortured artist, but don't come crying to us when you can't make rent." After he left, I sat on my paint-splattered stool, his words echoing in my mind. The truth was, I hadn't told my family about the changes in my life. They didn't know about the meetings I'd been having, the plans I'd set in motion. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya, my best friend since art school. "Just heard about the Harrison thing. You okay?" I smiled, typing back, "Better than okay. Meeting with investors tomorrow. Still want in?" Her response was immediate. "Hell yes. The art world won't know what hit it." 6 months earlier, I'd started noticing a disturbing pattern in New York's gallery scene. Small galleries were being bought out by large corporations, artists were being exploited, and authentic voices were being silenced in favor of mass-market appeal. That's when the idea hit me. What if there was a gallery chain that actually supported artists? One that offered fair commissions, promoted diverse voices, and helped build communities around art? I spent months developing the business plan, using skills I'd learned growing up in a business-focused family, skills they never realized I'd absorbed. Maya, who'd gone on to get her MBA while maintaining her art practice, helped refine the numbers. The next morning, I stood before a panel of investors in a borrowed suit, my hands still faintly stained with paint. "Ms. Anderson," the lead investor leaned forward, "your proposal is intriguing. A chain of galleries focused on artist advocacy and community engagement. But why should we trust an artist to run a multi-million-dollar business?" I met his gaze steadily, because I understand both worlds. I know what artists need to thrive, and thanks to my family background, I know how to make it profitable. The current gallery model is broken. I can fix it. 2 hours later, I walked out with initial funding of $10 million. My hands shook as I called Maya. "They're in," I breathed. "All of them." Maya screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "I told you." "When do we start?" "Immediately. Start contacting the galleries on our list." "And Maya?" "Not a word to my family. Not yet." Over the next year, I worked in secret. Through a series of shell companies, I began acquiring struggling galleries across the city. Each one was rebranded under the umbrella of Phoenix Art Collective, a name chosen because it represented rising from the ashes of a broken system. The changes were subtle at first. Higher commission rates for artists, community workshops, partnerships with local schools. But soon, word spread in the art community. Phoenix galleries became known as places where artists were treated fairly and art was accessible to everyone. I moved out of my studio apartment into a modest 2-bedroom, converting one room into an office. My family assumed I'd finally started selling enough paintings to afford it. They didn't know I now owned 15 galleries across New York, with plans to expand to Chicago and Los Angeles. Then came the call that would change everything. "Sophie," Maya's voice was urgent. "Anderson Development just announced plans for a new luxury complex in Soho, mixed-use retail and residential." "So, they announce new projects all the time." "No, you don't understand. They're partnering with Arts United Corporation for the retail spaces. And guess who owns all the galleries Arts United wants to acquire?" My heart stopped. Phoenix Art Collective owned every major gallery in their target area. "They can't proceed without our approval," I said slowly, realization dawning. "Nope." I could hear Maya's grin through the phone. "Your brother's $50 million deal. It's worthless without your signature." That night, I received an email from Anderson Development's legal team, requesting a meeting with Phoenix Art Collective's CEO. They didn't know that the mysterious owner they needed to negotiate with was the same person they'd dismissed as a failed artist. I poured myself a glass of wine, studying the email. After years of condescension and dismissal, my family was about to discover exactly what I built while they were busy mocking my choices. The meeting was scheduled for next week. I had 7 days to prepare for the moment my family would realize that the daughter they'd written off as a dreamer now held the key to their biggest deal of the year. I picked up my phone to text Maya, "Clear your schedule. It's time for the Andersons to meet Phoenix." The Anderson Development Conference Room hadn't changed in the 10 years since I'd last been there. The same mahogany table dominated the space. The same Manhattan skyline stretched beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Only now, I wasn't here as the disappointing daughter. Maya sat beside me, tablet in hand, professional in her tailored suit. We'd arrived early, waiting for the Anderson team to make their entrance. "Nervous?" she whispered. "Oddly calm," I replied, straightening the portfolio before me. "Like everything's finally falling into place." The door burst open. Michael strode in first, followed by our father and their legal team. They faltered slightly seeing me there. "Sophie," Michael's forehead creased. "What are you doing here? This is a private meeting." I smiled pleasantly. "I know, I'm right where I'm supposed to be." Dad's expression darkened. "We're meeting with Phoenix Art Collective's CEO. If this is another attempt to prove yourself." "Actually," Maya interrupted smoothly, "you are meeting with Phoenix's CEO." She gestured to me. "Sophie Anderson, founder and chief executive of Phoenix Art Collective." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Dad gripped the back of a chair, his knuckles white. "That's impossible," Michael finally sputtered. "Phoenix owns half the major galleries in New York. They're worth $47 million at last valuation." I finished for him. "Though with our Chicago expansion next month, that number's expected to double." Dad sank into a chair. "You're saying, all this time?" "All this time I was building something," I said calmly. "Something that matters. While you were busy mocking my art career, I was revolutionizing how galleries operate in this city." Michael's shock transformed into calculation. "Why didn't you tell us? We could have worked together from the start." "Really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like when you called my work a hobby last week, or when Dad offered me a pity position because he thought I was failing." "That's different," Dad protested. "We didn't know." "Exactly. You didn't know because you never bothered to look past your own assumptions." I opened my portfolio. "Now shall we discuss the Soho development project?" Michael straightened his tie, slipping into business mode. Yes, well, our proposal is straightforward. Arts United Corporation will manage all gallery spaces in the new complex. That won't work, I said, sliding documents across the table. Phoenix has exclusive rights to all major gallery operations in that area. Arts United can't proceed without our cooperation. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. Full control of the gallery spaces. Phoenix will manage them directly, maintaining our artist-first policies and community engagement programs. Michael scoffed. That's not how luxury developments work. We need prestigious names, high-end clients. You mean like the Clinton Foundation, which exclusively books their charity art auctions through Phoenix? Or the MoMA trustees who partner with us for emerging artist showcases? I smiled at his stunned expression. I understand this business, Michael, better than you think. Maya pulled up projections on the conference room screen. Phoenix galleries generate 40% more revenue per square foot than traditional galleries. Our community programs drive consistent foot traffic, and our artist-friendly policies attract top talent. Dad studied the numbers, his expression unreadable. And if we refuse? Then you lose the Arts United partnership and the Soho project falls apart. Your choice. Hours later, I sat in my office, my real office, on the top floor of Phoenix's headquarters. The contract was signed. Anderson Development would get their luxury complex, and Phoenix would expand its mission to support artists and communities. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. We should have dinner. Talk about old times. Another from Dad. I was wrong. Your mother would have been proud. I set the phone aside without responding. Through my window, I could see the lights of the city coming on, including the warm glow from several Phoenix galleries where evening art classes would be starting. Maya appeared in my doorway. Your brother's been calling me. Wants to know if he'll come to family dinner on Sunday. What did you tell him? That you're busy teaching an art class to underprivileged kids. She grinned. The CEO stuff is just your side hustle. I laughed, then grew serious. Do you think I'm being too hard on them? They're trying to jump on your success train after spending years at the station mocking your tickets. Maya sat down across from me. You don't owe them instant forgiveness. She was right. Maybe someday I'd be ready for family dinners and holiday gatherings. Maybe someday they truly understand that success isn't just about profit margins and prestigious names. But for now, I had a different family, the artists who found homes in our galleries, the communities we supported, the students who discovered their creativity in our workshops. I built something meaningful, something that would last. My phone buzzed again. A photo from one of our galleries, a young artist selling her first painting, her face glowing with joy. This was why I created Phoenix. Not to prove my family wrong, but to prove that art could thrive when given the right support. I picked up my brushes from my desk drawer. Even as CEO, I still painted every day, usually late at night when the office was quiet. Tonight's canvas waited on an easel by the window, a piece about transformation, about rising above others' expectations. A text from Maya. You showed them what a failed artist can do. I smiled, mixing colors on my palette. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving yourself right. As I began to paint, I thought about the long journey from that small studio apartment to this moment. My family had wanted me to give up art for business, never realizing I could excel at both. They'd seen art as a hobby, while I'd seen it as a revolution waiting to happen. Tomorrow, I would review expansion plans, meet with artists, and continue building the company that was changing the art world. But tonight, I was just an artist with a canvas, creating something new. And that, despite what my family had always thought, was worth everything. Get out and never come back. The words echoed through our once peaceful suburban home, my father's voice thundering with a rage I'd never heard before. I stood frozen in our living room, still clutching my acceptance letter to MIT's computer science program. My mother sat on the couch, her face buried in her hands, while my older brother Marcus leaned against the doorframe with a smug smile. This was the moment my family chose status over love, tradition over dreams. Dad, please, I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper. This is a full scholarship. I wouldn't need any money from you. Enough, Oliver. He slammed his fist on the coffee table, making the family photos rattle. Those same photos that showed us smiling, pretending to be the perfect family. The Morrison name has been in law for 4 generations. Your grandfather built this firm from nothing. Your brother understands his duty, but you? I glanced at Marcus in his perfectly pressed suit, recently made junior partner at Morrison & Sons law firm at just 26. The golden child who followed the predetermined path. I want to create something of my own, I said, straightening my back. Technology is the future. If you just listen. Technology? My father sneered. Playing with computers? That's your grand ambition. While your brother handles million-dollar cases, you want to be some code monkey? My mother finally looked up, her mascara smeared. Oliver, please. Just go to law school. We'd already have a place reserved for you at Yale. Think about the family name. The family name. Always the family name. Never about what I wanted, what I dreamed of. I'm going to MIT, I stated firmly. I got in on my own merit, not because of our name. My father's face turned an alarming shade of red. Then you'll do it without our support. No money, no car, no trust fund. Nothing. You can't be serious, I whispered, though I knew he was. James Morrison never made idle threats. Choose now, Oliver, law school and your family, or this foolish dream and nothing. I looked around the room one last time. At my father's unyielding expression, my mother's tears, Marcus's satisfied smirk. This house had never felt like home, not really. It was a gilded cage where dreams went to die. Goodbye then, I said quietly, turning toward the door. If you walk out that door, my father called after me, don't ever come back. I didn't look back. That night, I sat in my best friend Tom's garage, everything I owned stuffed into 2 duffel bags. Tom's parents had always been kind to me, and they didn't hesitate to offer their spare room when I called. You can stay as long as you need, Tom said, handing me a cold soda. But what's the plan? I pulled out my laptop, the one I bought with money from my summer coding jobs. Remember that app we've been working on? The one for small business inventory management? Tom nodded. We'd spent countless nights coding it, improving it, dreaming about what it could become. Well, I think it's time we finished it. Make it real. Tom's eyes lit up. You serious? But we need money for servers, marketing. I opened my savings account on my phone. $12,347. Every dollar I'd earned and saved over the past 2 years, hidden from my parents. It's not much, I admitted. But it's a start. The next few months were a blur of coding, cheap ramen noodles, and endless cups of coffee. I took classes during the day, worked on our app at night, and picked up freelance coding jobs whenever I could. Tom's parents let me stay in their garage, which we converted into a makeshift office. Our app, which we named Stockwise, launched with little fanfare. But slowly, through word of mouth and some clever social media marketing, small businesses started signing up. 1 user became 10, 10 became 100. By the end of my freshman year, we had enough paying customers to rent a small office space. Tom dropped out to work on Stockwise full-time while I continued my studies, barely sleeping but driven by a vision only I could see. Then came the turning point. A major retail chain discovered our app and wanted to implement it across their stores. The meeting was set for a Wednesday afternoon, and I sat across from their executives in my only suit, bought secondhand for $50. Your software is impressive, their CTO said, studying me carefully. But you're very young. How do we know your company will be around in a year? I met his gaze steadily, because this isn't just a company to me. This is my life. I have no backup plan, no safety net. I will make this work because I have to. Something in my voice must have convinced him. They signed a contract worth $500,000, more money than I'd ever seen in my life. That night, as Tom and I celebrated with pizza in our tiny office, my phone buzzed. It was Marcus. Hello, little brother, his voice dripped with condescension. Heard through the grapevine that you landed a decent contract. Ready to admit your mistake and come home. I ended the call without responding. 3 years passed in a whirlwind of growth. Stockwise expanded beyond inventory management into full business operations software. We hired developers, opened offices in 3 cities, and watched our user base explode. I lived in a small apartment despite our success, pouring every spare dollar back into the company. My only splurge was a decent laptop and a coffee machine that didn't leak. Then came the email that changed everything. Tech Weekly, the industry's leading magazine, wanted to feature Stockwise in their cover story. 30 under 30, the future of business technology. The morning the magazine hit the stands, I was in my office reviewing acquisition offers from several major tech companies. Our valuation had just hit $40 million, and rumors of an IPO were swirling. My phone rang. Unknown number. Oliver? My mother's voice, tentative and strange. We just saw the magazine. Your father and we've been thinking. I cut her off. I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Please, Oliver. We're still family. I looked at the framed MIT diploma on my wall, remembered the nights I studied while working 2 jobs, the meals I skipped to pay for textbooks. Are we? I asked quietly. I have to go. I hung up, but I knew this wasn't over. The family that had thrown me out at 18 was about to discover exactly what I built from nothing. And I was ready for them. The calls didn't stop. After the Tech Weekly article, my phone buzzed constantly with messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Second cousins who suddenly remembered my existence, aunts who ignored me at family gatherings, even my mother's bridge club friends reached out to reconnect. I ignored them all. But Marcus was more persistent. He showed up at my office one morning, striding past my assistant like he owned the place. 7 years hadn't changed him much. Same expensive suit, same arrogant smile. Little brother, he announced, dropping into the chair across from my desk. We need to talk. I continued typing on my laptop, not bothering to look up. How did you get past security? I'm a Morrison. Doors open for us. He chuckled, then frowned when I didn't respond. Come on, Oliver. This grudge has gone on long enough. Mom cries about you every holiday. Finally, I met his gaze. Funny, I don't remember her crying when I was sleeping in a garage. That was different. You were being stubborn. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. But look at you now. 40 million, Oliver. That's impressive. Dad's even talking about adding your name back to the Christmas card list. How generous of him. Marcus sighed, his facade of friendliness cracking slightly. Here's the thing. The firm is expanding into tech law. Your company, your connections, they could be valuable. We're having a family dinner on Sunday. Come home. Let's put this unfortunate business behind us. I closed my laptop slowly. Unfortunate business? Is that what you call throwing your 18-year-old brother out with nothing? Don't be dramatic. You chose to leave. No, Marcus. I chose to follow my dreams instead of fitting into Dad's perfect plan. There's a difference. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting. Don't be like this, he called after me. We're family. I paused at the door. Family? Let me tell you about family, Marcus. Tom's parents who gave me a place to stay when I had nothing. That's family. My first employees who worked for equity when I couldn't afford salaries. That's family. You're just people I share DNA with. The next day, my father tried a different approach. His secretary called to schedule a lunch meeting. Mr. Morrison would like to discuss a potential collaboration, she said primly. I agreed, choosing an upscale restaurant I knew he'd appreciate. Let him see what his rejected son could afford now. He arrived precisely on time, looking older than I remembered. 7 years had added gray to his temples and lines around his eyes. But his posture was still military straight. Oliver, he nodded, sitting down. You look successful. Amazing what playing with computers can accomplish, I replied, watching him wince at his own words thrown back at him. About that, he cleared his throat. I may have been hasty in my judgment. Technology is clearly the future, and Morrison & Sons needs to adapt. And you want Stockwise to help you adapt? He smiled, probably thinking he'd hooked me. Think about it. The Morrison name and tech law, backed by cutting-edge software. We could dominate the market. Your brother's already working on the partnership agreement. Of course he is. I sipped my water. Tell me, Dad, did you read the whole article about me? He blinked, caught off guard. I skimmed it. There was an interesting quote. Want to hear it? I pulled out my phone and read. When asked about his incredible success, Morrison credits his drive to early hardship. After being cut off by his wealthy family at 18, he built Stockwise from nothing, working multiple jobs while attending MIT on scholarship. The color drained from his face. Oliver, that's ancient history. The article went viral, Dad. Everyone in the tech world knows how the mighty Morrisons threw out their son for daring to chase his dreams. Makes for a compelling story, doesn't it? The self-made success versus the old money law firm. What do you want? He demanded, his mask of civility cracking. Money? Public apology. I laughed, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt truly free. I want nothing from you. That's what you never understood. I didn't need your money or your name. I just needed you to believe in me. And now? Now, I stood up, dropping my napkin on the table. Now I have a company to run. Enjoy your lunch, Dad. I hear they make an excellent humble pie. But they weren't done yet. That Sunday, my mother tried her approach. She waited outside my apartment building, knowing I couldn't avoid her there. Oliver, please, she called out as I walked past. Just talk to me. I stopped, taking in her designer outfit, the expensive car waiting at the curb. What's there to talk about, Mom? I'm sorry, she whispered. We were wrong. So wrong. But we're still your parents. Don't you miss us at all? For a moment, I remembered being small, feeling safe in her arms. But that memory was overshadowed by the image of her sitting silently while Dad threw me out. I missed you every night I went hungry saving money for textbooks, I said quietly. I missed you when I graduated MIT, looking out at an audience full of proud parents while my seats were empty. I missed you when I landed my first major contract and had no one to celebrate with except my friend's family. Tears streamed down her face. We can make it right. Come to dinner on Sunday. Everyone will be there. We'll be a family again. I stepped around her, heading toward my building. I have a family, Mom. I built it myself, just like I built everything else in my life. People who believe in me, support me, celebrate my successes without trying to take credit for them. Oliver, please. Goodbye, Mom. Tell Dad his tech law division will have to succeed without Stockwise. And tell Marcus, I smiled slightly. Tell him doors don't always open just because your name is Morrison. That night, I sat in my office, looking out over the city lights. Tom came in, carrying 2 beers. Rough week, he asked, handing me one. My family suddenly remembered I exist, I said, taking a long drink. Now that I'm worth something. Tom nodded thoughtfully. You know, my parents still ask about you. Dad's making his famous barbecue this weekend. I smiled, remembering countless dinners at their house. The way they'd celebrated every small victory with me, treated my dreams as valuable instead of foolish. Tell them I'll be there, I said. That's what real family does, right? Shows up when it matters. Tom raised his bottle. To family, the ones we choose. I clinked my bottle against his, to choices that make us stronger. The next morning, I walked into a board meeting to discuss our upcoming IPO. My phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. Don't be stubborn. Family is forever. I turned off my phone, smiling as I took my seat at the head of the table. He was wrong. Family isn't forever, not the kind that only loves you when you're valuable to them. Real family, the kind you build yourself, loves you even when you're sleeping in their garage, dreaming impossible dreams. And I had built something better than the Morrison name. I had built my own legacy. It's nothing personal, Maria, Harold Barnes said, not bothering to look up from his computer as he dismissed 15 years of loyal service. We're upgrading the building's image, going more upscale. I stood in his office, still wearing my cleaning uniform, my hands raw from scrubbing floors all morning. Upscale, I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. Yes. He finally glanced at me, his expression a practiced mix of corporate condescension and fake sympathy. The new owners want to attract more prestigious tenants. We're bringing in a professional cleaning service. I am professional, I said quietly. I've cleaned this building for 15 years. I know every inch of it. That's not the point. He sighed like I was a child failing to understand simple math. Barnes & Associates is growing. We need this building to reflect our status. You understand, don't you? I understood perfectly. I understood that the small law firm I'd watched grow from 2 attorneys to 20 no longer wanted a middle-aged Mexican woman cleaning their precious offices. I understood that all those mornings I'd arrived at 4 a.m. to make sure everything was spotless before their first client meeting meant nothing. My severance? I asked, pride making my spine straight despite the humiliation burning in my chest. 2 weeks' pay. He slid an envelope across his mahogany desk, the same desk I'd polished every night for years. You can finish out the week. I took the envelope, resisting the urge to tell them how many of his company's secrets I knew from emptying their trash and overhearing late-night conversations. How many confidential documents I'd seen carelessly left on desks and fax machines. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Barnes, I said instead, my accent careful and measured like my mother had taught me. Always be gracious, Maija, even when they don't deserve it. He was already back to typing on his computer, dismissing me from his mind as easily as he dismissed me from my job. I walked out of Barnes & Associates past the other offices I cleaned in the 12-story building. Accountants, insurance agents, a small tech startup. Most of them barely knew my name, though I knew everything about them. Which ones came in early, which stayed late, which were having affairs with their secretaries. My cart waited in the hallway, cleaning supplies neatly organized. 15 years of 4 a.m. starts, of back-breaking work, of being invisible unless something wasn't perfectly clean. All ended with a 2-week severance check and a casual dismissal. Mama? My daughter's voice came through my phone as I rode the elevator down. How did it go? Sophia. The reason I'd worked so hard, why I cleaned offices while studying English at night, why I'd saved every extra penny I could. They're letting me go, I said simply. Silence for a moment. Then, I'll be home in an hour. Don't cook, I'm bringing dinner. You have classes. They can wait. This is more important. I smiled despite everything. My brilliant daughter, in her 2nd year of business school, still thought having dinner with her mother was more important than her studies. At home, the small apartment I'd maintained alone since Sophia's father died 12 years ago, I sat at our tiny kitchen table and opened a severance envelope. 2 weeks' pay, $840 before taxes, barely enough for 1 month's rent. Sophia arrived with takeout from our favorite Mexican restaurant and a determined look in her eye. This is good, she announced, setting out containers of enchiladas and rice. Now you can finally do it. Do what? Start your own business, like you've always talked about. I shook my head. Sophia, starting a cleaning business takes money. Which you have, she interrupted. I know about your savings, Mama, the account you think I don't know about. I stared at her. How did you? I'm studying finance, remember? I've seen your bank statements and my help with the bills. $23,000, hidden away in that secret account. She reached for my hand across the table. Plus the $12,000 in your regular savings. That's $35,000, Mama. Enough to start something real. She was right about the money. For 15 years, I'd saved everything I could, taking extra cleaning jobs on weekends, living as frugally as possible. The secret account was meant to be Sophia's graduate school fund, but she'd already won a full scholarship. It's too risky, I protested. At my age. You're 48, not dead. Sophia's eyes blazed with the same determination her father's had shown when he first asked me to marry him. And you know more about commercial cleaning than any of those professional services Barnes is hiring. She pulled out her laptop, her most prized possession, bought with her scholarship money. Look what I found. She showed me a website for a commercial cleaning franchise. Initial investment, $30,000. They provide training, supplies, insurance, everything you need to start. But here's the best part, you don't need it. What do you mean? You already have better connections than they do. How many business owners have you talked to over the years? How many have complained about their current cleaning services? She wasn't wrong. I'd lost count of the times I'd heard tenants complaining of the expensive cleaning services they use for their other properties. Services that often did a worse job than I did. Think about it, Sophia continued, warming to her subject. You start small, underbid the big companies but provide better service, build a reputation. Then expand. I looked at my daughter, so confident, so certain of success. Just like her father had been. Manuel had always believed in taking risks, in building something of our own. Before cancer took him, he'd made me promise to give Sophia every opportunity possible. Maybe it was time to give myself an opportunity too. Okay, I said slowly, but we do this smart. No franchise fees. We start small, build slowly. Sophia's face lit up. Really? You'll do it? Yes. I squeezed her hand. But first, you help me write a letter to Mr. Barnes. The letter was simple but pointed. Dear Mr. Barnes, thank you for 15 years of employment at Barnes & Associates. While I regret that my services no longer meet your standards, I appreciate the opportunity to have learned so much about commercial property maintenance and business operations. I will complete my final week as requested. Please ensure my replacement knows about the faulty lock on the supply closet door, the temperamental heating system on the 8th floor, and Mr. Davidson's severe dust allergies. Best regards, Maria Suarez. I hand-delivered it to his office the next morning. He probably never even read it. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Sophia helped me register the business, Elite Commercial Services, a name she chose because it sounds expensive, and create professional-looking business cards and flyers. I used some of my savings to buy commercial-grade equipment, better than what I'd been using at Barnes & Associates. My first client was easy. Dr. Patel, a dentist who'd always treated me with respect when I cleaned his office in the building. When he heard I was starting my own company, he immediately hired me to clean his other 2 practices. Finally, he said, signing the contract, someone who knows what they're doing. Word spread. Within 2 months, I had contracts for 6 small medical offices and 3 law firms. I hired 2 workers, both experienced cleaners I knew from my years in the business. Unlike the big companies, I paid them well and treated them with respect. 6 months in, Elite Commercial Services had 15 clients and 5 employees. Sophia helped me set up proper payroll and insurance systems, using what she was learning in her business classes. Every night, she'd come home excited to show me something new she'd learned that could help the company grow. "You need to think bigger, Mama," she said one evening as we reviewed the books. "You're making more profit than Barnes & Associates pays their cleaning service and providing better quality." "How do you know what they pay?" She grinned. "I have my sources, and I know their new service is terrible. 3 complaints in the last month alone." I tried not to feel satisfied about that, but I did. Especially when I heard through the grapevine that the professional service Barnes had hired was charging twice what I used to cost them. 1 year after being fired, Elite Commercial Services had 30 clients and 12 employees. We'd moved into a small office of our own, complete with a storage room for supplies and a break room for the staff. Sophia insisted on professional uniforms for everyone, dark blue with the company logo she'd designed. That's when I got the call that would change everything. "Mrs. Suarez?" The voice was unfamiliar. "This is David Chen from Meridian Property Group. We're interested in discussing your services for our entire portfolio of buildings." I sat up straighter. Meridian was one of the largest commercial property owners in the city. "Of course, Mr. Chen. I'd be happy to meet." "Actually," he interrupted, "we'd like you to come to our offices tomorrow morning. Our CEO would like to speak with you directly." The next day, I walked into Meridian's luxurious downtown headquarters wearing my best suit, another of Sophia's insistences. "You're a CEO now, Mama. Dress like one." The CEO of Meridian Property Group was not what I expected. Sarah Chin was maybe 40, dressed in a simple black dress that probably cost more than my monthly payroll. She greeted me with a firm handshake and a direct gaze. "Mrs. Suarez," she gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Thank you for coming. I've heard interesting things about your company." I sat down, back straight, channeling Sophia's confidence. "Good things, I hope." "Very good." She opened a folder on her desk. "You've taken 15 clients from advanced commercial cleaning in the past year. All of them report higher satisfaction rates with your service despite your lower prices." I nodded, wondering where this was going. "Advanced Clean has been our provider for 10 years, she continued. "We have 63 properties in their portfolio, but lately their quality has been declining." My heart started beating faster. 63 properties. "We're considering making a change," Sarah said, "but I have concerns about your company's capacity to handle that volume." I met her gaze steadily. "Give me 3 buildings as a test. If we don't exceed your expectations in every way, you don't have to consider us for the rest." She smiled, a quick, sharp expression. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. She pulled out a contract. 3 buildings, 90-day trial period. If you succeed, we'll discuss the full portfolio. I read the contract carefully, just as Sophia had taught me. The terms were fair, the expectations clear. The 3 buildings were all downtown, including, I noticed, the one where Barnes & Associates had their offices. "When can you start?" Sarah asked as I signed. "Next week," I said confidently, already planning the staff expansion we'd need. 1 week. She raised an eyebrow. "That's ambitious." "I've been preparing for an opportunity like this," I replied. "My team is ready." That night, I called an emergency staff meeting at our office. All 12 of my employees came, even though it was 8 p.m. "We have an opportunity," I told them. "But I'll need everyone's help, and we'll need to hire more people fast." They didn't hesitate. "Carmen, my first hire, immediately suggested her sister and cousin, both experienced cleaners. Oza knew a whole family who just moved from El Salvador, all with commercial cleaning experience. By the end of the week, we'd hired 10 new employees. Sophia helped me revise our training programs, creating detailed checklists and procedures for every task. We bought new equipment, ordered more uniforms, and set up a proper scheduling system. Our first night in the Barnes & Associates building, I made sure to be there personally. The professional service had left it in terrible shape: dust in the corners, streaky windows, trash bins overflowing. "We have a lot of work to do," I told my team, "but this is our chance to show what real professionals look like." We worked through the night, restoring the building to the standards I'd maintained for 15 years. When the first tenants arrived the next morning, they couldn't believe the difference. By the end of the 90-day trial, Meridian Properties had received so many compliments about our service that they didn't even wait for the formal review. Sarah Chen called me directly. "How quickly can you take over the rest of our portfolio?" We expanded rapidly but carefully. I insisted on maintaining our high standards, personally training each new employee. Sophia, now in her final year of business school, helped me create proper management systems and financial controls. 2 years after being fired as just a cleaner, I sat in my new office, a proper corporate suite downtown, reviewing our company's growth with Sophia. "Revenue is up 300% from last year," she reported proudly. "We have 140 employees, service contracts for 87 buildings, and a waiting list of potential clients." I smiled, remembering the days of scrubbing floors at 4 a.m. in Barnes & Associates. She grinned. "Still complaining about every cleaning service they try. They've gone through 3 since Advanced Clean." That's when I saw it, a notice in the commercial real estate listings. The Barnes & Associates building was for sale. The owners were facing bankruptcy, looking for a quick sale. "Sophia," I said slowly, "what would you think about buying a building?" She looked at the listing, her eyes widening. "That building, can we afford it?" With our current revenue and assets, I did some quick calculations. We'd need financing, but it's possible. She was already pulling up financial models on her laptop, skills she'd learned in business school now put to use for our company. "If we use the company's profits as collateral, and with your personal assets, yes, we could make this work." I thought about Harold Barnes, about his casual dismissal of my worth, about all the tenants who'd treated me as invisible during my years cleaning their offices. "Make the calls," I told Sophia, "but keep my name out of it. Use the holding company we set up." The negotiations took 2 months. The owners, desperate for cash, accepted our offer, slightly below market value, but all cash, thanks to some creative financing Sophia arranged. The day we closed the deal, I waited until late afternoon, when I knew Harold Barnes would be in his office. I wore my best suit, no more cleaning uniform, and took the elevator to the 9th floor. His office door was open. He was on the phone, probably with another client he overcharged. I knocked on the doorframe. He looked up, irritation crossing his face at being interrupted, then confusion as he tried to place me. "Yes," he said, covering the phone's mouthpiece. "Can I help you?" "Hello, Mr. Barnes," I said clearly, my accent now refined by 2 years of corporate meetings. "I'm here about your lease." He frowned. "My lease? Are you with the property management company?" In a way, I stepped into his office, the same office where he'd fired me 3 years ago. "I'm the new owner of this building." The phone slipped from his hand. I enjoyed watching the recognition dawn on his face, followed by disbelief and then something close to fear. "Maria," he stammered. "But, you're a cleaner." "I was a cleaner," I corrected him. "Now I'm the CEO of Elite Commercial Services, which provides premium cleaning and maintenance services to over 80 high-end properties in this city. And as of today, I own this building." He seemed to shrink in his expensive chair. "About what happened?" I held up a hand. "I'm not here about the past, Mr. Barnes. I'm here about your future. Your lease is up for renewal next month. Are you going to evict us?" I smiled, remembering his words about upgrading the building's image. "No, Mr. Barnes. Unlike some people, I don't dismiss long-term relationships for the sake of image. But there will be some changes." I handed him a folder containing the new lease terms Sophia and I had carefully crafted. "Your rent will increase to match market rates. The building will undergo major renovations to actually become upscale, as you once put it, And of course, all tenants will be required to use aita commercial services for their cleaning needs. He opened the folder with trembling hands. This rent increase, it's significant. Quality comes at a price, I said using the same condescending tone he'd once used with me. You understand, don't you? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the moment he understood. Understood that the woman he dismissed as just a cleaner now held the power to affect his business, his success, his future. I'll need your decision by Friday, I said, turning to leave. Then I paused at the door. Oh, and Mr. Barnes. The cleaning crew starts at 6 a.m. now, not 4 a.m. I believe in treating my employees with respect. Walking out of his office, I felt no triumph, no vindictive pleasure. Only a deep satisfaction in knowing that I had built something meaningful, not just a successful company, but a legacy of respect and dignity for the kind of work I had once done. That evening, I hosted a dinner for all my employees and their families at an upscale restaurant, the kind of place I used to clean but could never afford to eat at. Over 100 people attended, representing dozens of countries and cultures. Sophia stood up to make a toast. To my mother, she said, raising her glass, who taught me that no honest work is beneath dignity and no dream is beyond reach. I looked around at the faces of my employees, my extended family now, and thought about the journey that had brought me here. From invisible cleaner to respected CEO, from powerless worker to influential owner. The next morning, I arrived at my building, just as the cleaning crew was finishing up. Carmen, now our operations manager, was showing a new employee the proper way to clean the executive offices. Good morning, Mrs. Suarez, they greeted me with genuine warmth. Good morning, I replied, noting how spotless everything was. Excellent work, as always. I took the elevator to my new office on the top floor, the one with the best view of the city. As I unlocked the door, I saw Harold Barnes arriving in the lobby below, looking uncomfortable as he passed the cleaning crew. I smiled, remembering Sophia's words from the night before. No honest work is beneath dignity, and no dream is beyond reach. Opening my computer, I began reviewing plans for our next expansion. After all, there were plenty more buildings in this